Return this plain text exactly as is with no changes. Response format plain text with no additions and no commentary, no introduction text, no footer text, no markdown format. Translator, Dark Angel. Editor Kurisu. My name is Du Zhang Ying. Mark my words, for soon my name shall echo through the world. The young man proclaimed with unshakable pride. This man appeared to be in the bloom of youth, his early 20s, and he wielded the formidable cultivation of the 6th layer of element gathering tier. His confidence radiated as if it was boundless, yet only he understood the true story of his rise. Just 2 years ago, he was no more than a lowly body refining tier cultivator, struggling to break through. But fate had smiled upon him, bringing him an opportunity that propelled his cultivation to astonishing heights. In a mere span of 2 years, he had risen to the 6th layer of element gathering tier. Such rapid success had cultivated a sense of superiority within him. He believed that by next year, he would soar to the 9th layer, and the year after, he would ascend to the gushing spring tier, effortlessly crushing any genius that dared stand in his way. Ling Han, his calm demeanor unbroken, simply smiled. Being too idle would be a bit boring, so I'll indulge you for a while. How dare you? Du Zheng Ying's eyes flared with rage, his body leaping forward in an instant. The long saber at his waist was drawn in one swift motion. The saber's blade gleamed with cold light, and he roared as he slashed it at Ling Han, a ferocious arc of saber energy aimed straight at Ling Han's waist. The sword was light, but the saber was heavy with the weight of violence. The strike was ruthless and fierce, displaying a certain level of skill. Ling Han, with unhurried grace, unsheathed his own blade. The sound of metal ringing filled the air as their weapons clashed. The saber's power was dispersed easily, the strike nullified by Ling Han's sword with a crisp shower of sparks. Du Zheng Ying's saber halted just inches from Ling Han's ribs, its energy drained, leaving it harmless. You do have some ability, Du Zheng Ying sneered coldly. But before me, it amounts to naught. I am destined to be a genius, a legend whose name will be known across the world. All others are mere stepping stones on my path, to be crushed underfoot. Without hesitation, he renewed his assault. The saber danced through the air, flashing with tremendous force. The audience, witnessing the spectacle, fell into stunned silence. Pride was one thing, but Du Zheng Ying's arrogance had transcended all reason. He was no longer simply proud, but utterly blind to his own limits. Ling Han, however, continued to parry his attacks with casual ease. The tournament stage would last until sundown, and there was no urgency in defeating Du Zheng Ying. Du Zheng Ying, too, thought his success was inevitable. His opponent, Ling Han, was merely in the 4th layer of element gathering tier, 2 whole layers beneath him. How could someone of such low cultivation possibly pose a challenge to him? Ha ha ha! Not bad. Not bad at all. Du Zheng Ying laughed mockingly. I have to admit, you are stronger than I thought. But now it's time for me to get serious. His expression hardened as he prepared himself, brandishing his blade once again. A flash of saber chi manifested in the air. Yi! En! Gasps of astonishment rippled through the onlookers. Saber chi! Impossible! Is this the mark of a true ruler? This arrogant fool actually has saber chi. Now, Ling Han won't be able to fend off his attacks anymore. The crowd buzzed with shock and awe. They had not expected Du Zheng Ying to be capable of such a feat. Saber chi was a rare achievement, a sign of martial mastery, and only a select few could wield it. Du Zheng Ying, now basking in his own accomplishment, laughed triumphantly. You should be honored to witness me use saber chi. Ling Han, still unshaken, shook his head. Is that all you have? One flash of saber chi? Du Zheng Ying's eyes narrowed, disbelief spreading across his face. What do you mean? That's all? One flash of saber chi is enough to defeat you 100 times over. He began to slash with renewed fury, his saber becoming a whirlwind of deadly force. The saber chi hummed with an ominous energy, each slash carrying overwhelming power. Ling Han, with a faint smile, raised his sword in a casual arc. The air shimmered, and with a simple wave of his blade, a flash of sword chi shot forth. Pooh! The spectators were frozen, their mouths agape in shock. To form chi, whether it be saber or sword chi, was the mark of a master. A mere flicker of chi was rare enough, but for 2 individuals to simultaneously wield their chi in battle. This was something that had only been whispered about in legends, and it was occurring right before their eyes. What? You too? Du Zhengying exclaimed, his eyes wide with astonishment. Is this truly so surprising? Ling Han asked, his voice light. Humph, so what if you can form sword chi? You're still no match for me. Du Zhengying roared, raising his saber in preparation for his next assault. His saber arts were no ordinary techniques. They had been passed down through generations and refined by the alchemical pills he had consumed, pushing him beyond his previous limits. The book of saber arts he had received was a treasure containing both the first and second stages of martial mastery. The first stage was a yellow grade high-level technique, while the second had ascended to the black grade, a level beyond his current reach. But even the first stage alone had granted him saber chi, a mark of incredible power. Cleaving mountain saber arts, Du Zhengying cried, his saber cutting through the air like a dragon. The saber chi crackled with lethal energy, surging toward Ling Han with the intent to annihilate. Ling Han's sword, glowing with the brilliance of the shocking electricity sword arts, rose in a diagonal strike. His sword chi surged forward to meet the oncoming saber chi. Peng! The two chi clashed in a brilliant explosion of light. The saber chi shattered against Ling Han's sword chi, which, like a rainbow, continued its path toward Du Zhengying's chest. Blood splattered across the stage as Du Zhengying was sent hurtling backward, thrown off the stage by the overwhelming power of the sword chi. Sigh! The audience gasped collectively, their eyes wide with disbelief. Even those who had formed chi knew that the strength of one's chi was not always equal. The true power of chi lay in its mastery, and Ling Han's sword chi had proven to be far superior. The fourth prince, Li Dongyue, and other stage masters who had been watching were equally stunned. The might of Ling Han's attack had even caught them off guard, though they still believed their own cultivation was far superior. Still, Ling Han's victory left an impression, making it clear that he was not merely riding on the coattails of his alchemists. The tournament continued, with most eyes fixed on the 9th and 10th stages. These were the weakest, and many believed that the path to the top 10 would pass through them. As the sun began to set, the top 10 martial artists were determined. Li Hao fought valiantly, but his cultivation level proved to be too much of a disadvantage. Though he could match those in the 4th layer of Element Gathering tier against stronger opponents, his defeat was inevitable. Ling Dongxing was elated. His son had surpassed expectations and entered the top 10, a significant honor. Perhaps in time, Ling Han might even reach the Gushing Spring tier and beyond. Ling Han, meanwhile, felt the stirrings of excitement. The next day, he would face even stronger opponents. The night passed quietly, and the first rays of the sun broke over Dayuan City, heralding the start of the 3rd and final round of the Dayuan tournament. This day would decide who would take the coveted first place. Ling Dongxing's heart was torn with a mixture of hope and anxiety as he watched his son, Ling Han, from the sidelines. Before the tournament had started, he believed Ling Han would at least make it into the top 50, but never dared to dream that his son might actually enter the top 10. After all, Ling Han's cultivation was still far too shallow. But after the surprising victory the previous day, Ling Dongxing couldn't help but entertain the thought of his son claiming the first place. Yet the path ahead was fraught with powerful opponents such as the 4th prince, Li Dongyue, and Jin Wuji. Even if he were the one competing, he could not guarantee a victory. How much more for his son, who is still so young and inexperienced? Just as his worry gnawed at him, Lu Yutong's voice broke through his thoughts. You don't have to worry, Uncle. Since Ling Han said he could win first place, then he will definitely win first place. Her words were filled with such unwavering confidence that Ling Dongxing was momentarily speechless. This young girl had more faith in his son than he did. It was clear to him now that her feelings for Ling Han ran deep. Upon this realization, Ling Dongxing could not bring himself to worry anymore. If his son had such a remarkable companion by his side, then perhaps he could rest in peace. The rules for today's tournament are as follows. The chief butler, as the host, raised his voice for all to hear. You shall take the positions you held on the previous day. From here, you may challenge anyone one rank higher. If you win, you replace them. However, if you lose, you may no longer challenge anyone and must defend your current position. The The rankings will be confirmed when the sun sets or when all challenges are resolved. As soon as the chief butler finished speaking, Li Dongyo took a leap and landed upon the first tournament stage. With a proud grin, he announced, "Fourth Prince, I challenge you!" Ha! I too wish to see if your little Tianyuan hands have reached the 7th level. Qi Yongye laughed heartily and leapt up to meet Li Dongyo on the stage. "It will not disappoint you." Li Dongyo hissed, raising his hands, his posture fierce and confident as he charged toward Qi Yongye. The two were in the 9th layer of the element gathering tier, and 3 years ago they had been close rivals. However, back then, the 4th Prince had the upper hand. But those 3 years had seen Li Dongyue immerse himself in cultivation, and his growth was evident. "Brother Li, your improvements are indeed commendable," Qi Yongye said, sending out a series of powerful punches. Each one was like a noble ruler asserting their dominance, its sheer force enough to shake the very heart. "But you made a grave mistake staying in Dayuan City. The Imperial City is where true martial arts await. There you face true challengers, ones whose presence alone can send shivers down your spine. The pressure there has allowed me to grow far beyond what you could imagine." Qi Yongye's fists bore a terrifying power, each blow wrapping around his fist with an overwhelming qi that shook the very ground beneath them. It was fist qi. Li Dongye recoiled, unable to keep up, his face filled with regret. 3 years ago, the two had fought a tough battle that lasted hundreds of moves. But now, the 4th Prince's fists seemed to have closed the gap entirely, overwhelming Li Dongye before he could even defend himself. With a resounding pang, Li Dongye was struck by a heavy blow, his body stumbling backward, a trace of blood dripping from his lips. I'm no match for you," Li Dongyue said bitterly, his voice tinged with frustration. Despite being in the same cultivation realm, the gap between them was unbridgeable. The 4th Prince had reached a level that was far beyond his own. Qi Yongye smiled, extending a hand. "This Son of Heaven fist technique was taught to me by His Imperial Majesty himself. There is no shame in losing to it." His Imperial Majesty was a spiritual pedestal-tier warrior, and if any martial technique could match his prowess, it would be one of extraordinary power. "There are 4 levels to this fist technique," Qi Yongye continued. "The first level is a yellow-grade high-level technique. The second is black-grade low-level. The third is black-grade medium-level. And the 4th is black-grade high-level." He smiled. His Imperial Majesty is fond of talented individuals, and many great talents in the Imperial City have been taught the Son of Heaven fist technique. The spectators watched in awe, whispering amongst themselves. 3 years ago, Li Dongyu had managed a tie with the 4th Prince, but now he was utterly overwhelmed within just 10 moves. The Son of Heaven fist technique was truly fearsome, and the 4th Prince's strength was undeniable. If only they could wield such a technique, they would surely become a force to be reckoned with. "How about it, Brother Li?" Qi Yongye continued with a smile. "Would you consider joining me at the Huyang Academy?" Li Dongyue's eyes flickered with contemplation. The difference in their strength had given him clarity. Dayuan City was no longer enough for him. Only by venturing beyond it could he grow further. Returning to the second tournament stage, he found his position unchallenged. The battles continued, and once again, the tournament was in full swing. However, no one dared challenge him just yet. On the 4th tournament stage, Bailey Teng Yun leapt to the 3rd stage, calling out, "Jinwuji, I challenge you." Jinwuji, calm and composed, crossed his arms behind his back. "Then allow me to guide you." Jinwuji had also spent 3 years cultivating at the Huyang Academy, and his improvement was evident. While he saw all the contestants as worthy opponents, he only took the 4th Prince seriously. The battle began. Bailey Teng Yun, remarkable for his age, had reached the 8th layer of the element gathering tier at just 17. His strength was formidable enough to make many in the 9th layer reconsider their own abilities. Yet, Jin Wuji's movements were far more refined, his power far surpassing Bailey Teng Yun's in every aspect. He truly shows his skills after returning from the Huyang Academy, the spectators murmured in awe. As the battle raged, Bailey Teng Yun drew a short staff from his back. Giving it a light shake, the staff expanded, its length growing until it was 2 meters long. The staff was dark as ink, its power terrifying. I heard the Bailey sect possesses an ultimate treasure, Jin Wuji remarked, intrigued. Could this be it? Yes, this is the Staff of Destruction, Bailey Tengyun replied, his voice steady as he waved the staff. Feel its power! With a forceful wang, the staff trembled, sending shockwaves through the air. The very presence of the Staff of Destruction sent ripples of fear through the crowd. Jin Wuji's expression grew solemn, for it was not Bailey Tengyun he feared, but the destructive power within the staff.